Have you ever felt a quiet distance open up between you and the people you love? Maybe it was at a family barbecue, or in the middle of a crowded city, or on a Sunday morning when you realized that the things everyone else seemed to care about no longer tugged at your heart. It's a strange feeling, right? Like you're living a split life, part of you playing the role, the other quietly searching for meaning in the spaces between small talk and routines. I remember walking through my old neighborhood, passing houses where I used to dream about making it. Bigger cars, better jobs, more stuff. But suddenly, all those dreams felt borrowed, like clothes that never truly fit. I caught my reflection in a window, just for a moment, and wondered, who am I really if I let go of what everyone expects? For a long time, I tried to pretend everything was fine. I went to game nights, laughed at the same old jokes, even made plans I knew didn't excite me anymore. But there was this whisper inside, a kind of longing that wouldn't let me rest. I started searching for answers in books, quiet walks, late-night conversations with people who saw the world a little differently. And that's when it hit me. Something was changing, and I couldn't turn back. If you've ever felt that ache, that tension between fitting in and standing out, this story is for you. Because the truth is, living in between worlds isn't just lonely. Sometimes it's the beginning of waking up. Tonight, let's step into that space together. Let's talk about what it really means to outgrow the life you knew, and how the courage to change might just lead you home to yourself.
It's funny how change creeps in. Some people talk about big moments, a breakthrough under city lights or a heart-to-heart that shifts their worldview overnight. But for most of us, it's subtler. Maybe it's a quiet morning before everyone else wakes up and you realize you've been carrying questions nobody's asking. Maybe you're sitting alone on the porch watching the sunrise and something about the silence feels sacred, even a little haunting. For me, it started with a simple act. I stopped pretending to enjoy things that didn't light me up inside. One night I skipped a party, stayed home instead, and lost myself in a book about living authentically. The words hit deeper than I expected, and I caught myself wondering if anyone else nearby was feeling the same pull. That was the first ripple, the beginning of a deeper search. Suddenly, the way people talked about success, about fitting in, about what matters most felt foreign, almost scripted. I began to notice the patterns, the same conversations about getting ahead, the same anxieties about being left behind. But inside, something new was stirring. An urge to go beyond the script, to find out what was true for me, even if it meant standing outside the crowd. Do you remember a day when you woke up and saw the world with new eyes? Not because everything changed, but because you changed. That realization, as gentle or as jolting as it comes, is the first step on a much longer journey. For me, it wasn't about bragging or feeling above anyone. It was simply the feeling that my heart was asking bigger questions. Questions about purpose and belonging. Questions about real happiness that no one at work seemed to ask. In these moments, you might feel out of sync with your surroundings. Friends might wonder why you're quieter than usual. Family might not get why certain traditions seem emptier than before. At first, it's confusing, maybe even isolating. But underneath it all, there's a quiet excitement. A sense that you're uncovering something honest, something worth exploring. If this resonates with you, know you're not alone. That moment of change is a seed, planted by longing, watered by restlessness. It's a sign that you're on your way, even if the path ahead is still hidden in shadow. Let's walk further together. Loneliness. At first it creeps in quietly, almost invisible. You might be surrounded by people, family sharing stories around the dinner table, friends laughing at old jokes, co-workers talking about weekend plans. Yet you feel as though you're drifting further, as if there's an invisible wall between where you are and where you once belonged. I remember sitting in my living room, voices filling the space, but feeling a cold emptiness inside. Even when you try to join in, there's a growing sense that what excites others doesn't move you like before. You catch yourself fading out of conversations, your mind wandering to questions nobody seems interested in. Sometimes you even wonder, is there something wrong with me? It's not just that old hobbies and gossip lose their sparkle. There's a longing for deeper connection, a hunger for someone to understand what you're feeling, for someone to say, I get it. Nights get longer. You scroll through your phone, searching for voices that echo your own quiet transformation. But most people are still trading comfort for belonging, chasing approval, rarely daring to be different. You start missing the way things were. Simple joys feel harder to reach. Familiar routines feel uncomfortably tight. It can hurt when people notice your silence and mistake it for sadness or pride. When they ask what's wrong, you stumble for words that won't make you sound crazy or ungrateful. I lost friends, slowly, quietly, drifting apart until our memories felt more real than anything we'd share now. In America, we're taught to push forward, to celebrate independence. But nobody really warns you about the loneliness that comes with growing beyond the familiar. The silence is full of doubts, and sometimes it's full of grief for the version of yourself you're leaving behind. But here's what I wish someone had told me. That loneliness is not a failure. It's a signal that you're changing, that you're reaching for something honest, something beautiful. You're not broken, and you're not alone, even when you feel that way most. Tonight, if you're in that lonely space, hold on to your courage, because on the other side is clarity and maybe, just maybe, a new sense of belonging that fits you perfectly. Vulnerability. It's one of those words that sounds fragile but feels powerful. At this point in your journey, you've lost the armor that made you feel safe. Nothing fits quite right. You're softer. The world feels bigger, sometimes more dangerous, but also more alive. I used to think strength meant hiding the parts of me that hurt, but letting myself be seen, right in the middle of the mess, turned out to be the bravest thing I could do. There was a night I cried for no clear reason. I didn't hide it. I let the tears come, listened to the ache, and didn't judge myself for feeling lost. Vulnerability showed up in small ways too. Asking for help when I used to bite my tongue. Admitting to my family I didn't have all the answers. Confiding in a friend that I felt terrified of the future. I realized that sharing my struggles was not weakness, but an invitation for deeper connection. American culture celebrates the self-made, the ones who push through alone. But the truth is, we all need a hand to hold, at least once in a while. When you openly admit your confusion, your fears, your dreams, something shifts. Not just for you, but for the people around you. Suddenly, strangers become allies. Old friends listen closer. The most surprising faces show compassion. You discover connection in places you least expect. There is a quiet power in being real. Vulnerability opens doors to understanding. It lets you lay down your defenses, breathe more freely, meet the world with your whole self instead of just the polished parts. The nights when you feel exposed, remember, they're the nights when you're growing, when you're alive, when your story becomes strong enough to help someone else through their own storm. Don't hide your heart. Trust that showing your true self doesn't make you weaker. It brings you closer to the people and experiences that matter most. And when you let go of needing to seem perfect, you gain a kind of wild, beautiful courage. The kind that helps you move forward even when you're scared. Tonight, let yourself be seen. The world needs your story just as it is. Discovering new connections can feel like stumbling onto unexpected light after a long time in the dark. For a while, you tell yourself you're different, maybe too different, and it's just how things have to be. But the world surprises you. Maybe it's a stranger in a coffee shop who shares a book suggestion and suddenly understands your questions. Maybe it's a late-night message from someone you haven't seen in ages, admitting they've felt lost too. I remember feeling invisible, then realizing I wasn't alone. One day I heard a podcast where someone described the ache of outgrowing their old life, and their words hit me like a lifeline. Sometimes it's just a comment online, a nod from a coworker who quietly admits their own doubts, or finding a support group that speaks your new language. As you open up, you draw in people who see the world as you do. Your courage inspires honest conversations. You find belonging, not in old routines, but in genuine exchanges. Weekend hikes with new friends, deep talks over small dinners, sharing silence with someone who understands that some feelings are too big for words. American culture teaches independence, but it also rewards connection. In these moments, you realize the loneliness was part of the journey, but it isn't the destination. New relationships rise from the ashes of the old, built not on pretending to fit in, but on shared truth and mutual recognition. You are seen and you see others, and this time it feels real. Being open paves the way for these connections. You let go of needing to prove yourself, finding people who support your growth. Sometimes you help someone else find courage by simply sharing your story. Sometimes someone helps you in return. Together you weave a new fabric of community, stronger and softer than the one you left behind. Celebrate the moments when a new connection finds you. Thank those who reach out and reach back. Because every time you connect, you trade a little more loneliness for a sense of true belonging. You learn you were never really alone in your questions. Sometimes the company you've been looking for just needs you to show up as your truest self. Transformation is never just about becoming new. It's about choosing compassion, both for yourself and for others who might not understand your journey. The walls that once made you feel separate begin to soften. You start to see your former self, the friends you lost, the family who worried with fresh eyes. All those old worries, all the times you felt judged or misunderstood, they become lessons in patience, in love. I used to think I had to prove I was different to show that I'd grown. But transformation is quieter than that. It shows up in small ways, in a gentle tone during an argument, in forgiving someone who can't see your change yet, in being tender with yourself when you slip back into old patterns. Some days you offer a kind word to a stranger and see yourself reflected in their gratitude. Other days you have compassion for the friend who still clings to the crowd, remembering you were there once too. You realize everyone grows on their own time. You let go of the need to be right, opening up space for empathy, in conversation, in disagreement, in silence. American culture pushes us to succeed, to chase bigger and better. But the most powerful change is in how softly you hold the world, how bravely you let love guide your choices. You begin to understand that being true to yourself isn't about leaving others behind. It's about welcoming them in whatever way they're ready. Transformation is a return to kindness. It's sharing your heart, forgiving mistakes, building bridges instead of burning them. It's believing that even as you grow, you're connected to every person who helped shape your path. When you live with compassion, your story isn't just about you. It's part of a much bigger belonging. If today you feel distant from your old life, try looking at it with new kindness. Send out gratitude. Let go of old hurts. Choose understanding again and again. That is the real mark of growth and the beginning of a deeper, gentler freedom. If you've made it this far, maybe you felt something shift. Maybe you've seen a piece of your own journey in these words or heard your own story echo back. That's not an accident. Change can make us feel alone, but it also makes us part of something bigger, a community that grows with every honest voice. You don't have to walk this path in silence. Share what you're feeling below. Tell us about the moment things changed for you, about the friendships you lost, the new ones you found, the courage it took just to keep going. When you write your story, it helps the next person who's still searching for hope in the dark. Reach out. Respond to someone else. Maybe tonight you'll find a friend where you least expect it. Maybe your story will give someone else the permission they need to begin. Every comment, every story, every kind word becomes a piece of this new community we're building. One where it's safe to be real, safe to grow, safe to belong. Don't underestimate the power of human connection. In America, our stories are how we understand ourselves, how we heal, how we move forward together. No matter where you are on this journey, whether you're just beginning or facing the hardest part, know that this is a place for you. So like, subscribe, and most of all, leave a piece of your heart here. Your story matters. Let's find our way together.